even though I don't agree with him, he was willing to stand there and let people talk to him.
Absolutely.
And that's, I wish there was more people on both sides that did that. A lot of people don't want to have conversations. How do we see people through a different lens is what I'm saying, I guess. You know what I mean?
How do we not be so afraid of each other?
Yeah.
Brick by brick.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Brick by Brick podcast. I am Brad Critchfield, and we have a really cool podcast today. And I'm going to kick it over to Jimmy, Steve, and Greg. And who wants to do the intro today?
Is it scripted?
I would look at that camera.
You just kind of like. So what I usually do is I look at the camera and I make like flirty eyes, and I go, "Hi, everybody, welcome to the show." And then I just kind of spitball. But you can do it however you want.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Brick by Brick, and we're about to get into it.
What are we going to talk about today, guys?
Forgiveness.
Dude, my headphones. All right. Forgiveness.
Bad decisions.
So we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, right? And one thing I absolutely love is open dialogue, debate, freedom of speech, and just being able to communicate with people in a way that shows that you see them, value them, respect them, and just be able to share ideas and feelings. I think that's something that's lost a lot in today's society. And I love, respect all of you guys, and I know we all share a mutual respect and also a mutual appreciation for the ability to just speak about things and be human about things. So obviously there's been a lot going on in the week, whether that's the school shooting in Colorado or the murder of Charlie Kirk. We're going to go everywhere, and there is no boundaries to this conversation. This is a free-form conversation. I know me personally, I put something on Facebook and I got hit with a lot of stuff online about it. And it made me really pause and think, is even like saying my opinion worth it in today's world? Like, is it even worth it? And I think that feeling of not wanting to share my opinion or not wanting to talk about things because of how people respond kind of triggered me to go, you know what? Not only am I going to just keep sharing my opinion and be my authentic self, but I'm gonna talk with my friends and we're gonna talk about whatever the hell we want. So with that, I'm gonna kick it over to you guys.
I kind of wanted to start with, because you mentioned freedom of speech, just a question, if I can get everyone to say what their thought of freedom of speech is. Because I think a lot of times, from my perspective, freedom of speech within the First Amendment is your government isn't going to persecute you for things you may say. But I feel like when somebody is held accountable for things that they say that is an infringement on my freedom of speech. So I'd like to go around and just kind of get a feel for what everybody here's thought of freedom of speech actually entails.
Okay, I don't know. I honestly, like the laws, the rules, it's like, I think people should be able to be free to say whatever they want. And when it comes to, can I start with something else? Is that okay? Just without the freedom of speech thing. So I just want to tell you, like, something that happened to me today. So I went to a business where I had to give my name, went to a dispensary today, and I put my name in. They called me up, and my name is spelled Stevan. It's an odd spelling for Steven. I told her, Steve. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. It spelled kind of funny. I didn't, and she was very, very sweet, very nice, telling me I didn't want to offend you. And it's just kind of like, oh, what are you going to do with your day? You know, she was asking me. I told her I'm going to go to my daughter's soccer game. And then afterwards, I might do get together with some of my friends. We might do a podcast. And she just asked, oh, really? What are you guys going to talk about? I just said, with everything going on in the world, we were probably going to talk about some of the stuff with Charlie Kirk. I mean, we're like, me and my friends, we're all of my age in our 40s. A lot of us have kids and families, and it's just really sad when somebody's life is taken. And from what I saw, it's interesting to me and something to talk about as like a father, to see people that are celebrating the death of somebody, and whether or not you agree just to celebrate death. And she just looked at me very confused, because we were having a good conversation. And she was so worried about offending me by saying the wrong name. Yeah. But then her response was like, oh, you're going to talk about that? Well, but didn't he kind of get what he deserved? Because, and I looked at her like, And it took me, I had to settle myself because she looked very confused. And all I did was let her know, it's not so much about what my opinion is of Charlie Kirk or any of that. What I want to talk about, and one thing that I'm very curious of, is if the shooter is this 22-year-old kid that came from a family and the dad turned him in, he went away. Why? And I just think of this because I have a 7-year-old daughter. Why is it, and I told her this, like, why is it that this child got information or got indoctrinated by other people and made a decision and didn't talk to the parents? Because as having a daughter, I hope that when she has problems at school, has problems, whatever, that I have a relationship with my daughter that she can come to me with problems. So what I want to also like touch on and talk about is like, what is it that society, what are we doing as parents where we're not the ones that are parenting our children? And it just a broad conversation that I was bringing up, but she looked, the reason why I bring this up, it was so confusing to me because she seemed kind of like, well, he got what he deserved because he wished for death upon people, right?
So she was saying
that
she didn't think this would be offensive to you.
Yeah,
to speak on
about somebody, but she was
messing up your name
was so offensive, and it was just confusing to me because how do both of these truths sit in the same person at the same time? And I just had to sit there and think about it. And it's like, I don't even know where to go with that because it is one of those things because she was so sweet and polite and did not want to offend me on my name. But then it's like, you don't know my relationship with what I think about Charlie Kirk. All I'm talking about is like somebody that died, no matter who they are. But to be like, hey, I don't want to offend you, get your name wrong. But, oh, they died. They deserve to die.
But in a way, doesn't that kind of like adds up though, right? Because if she's saying she's so careful with her words and so careful when somebody is not careful, she feels like, well, that's what could happen. So her relationship with what she says has that gravity to it.
Well, what do you mean? Say that again.
So like she obviously is coming from a place of like, she does not want to say anything that would offend somebody. Mm-hmm. And then when she hears him, she goes like, "Oh, he said things that offended people. Therefore, but
she with the way she was saying it though, and this is why like it was so curious to me because she was saying it as like so a matter of fact. Oh, but he hated people, right? Mm-hmm. So you can tell she did not know anything about the individual. She was regurgitating information that she was heard because she was
heard.
Yeah, because she
was Kirk say some very hateful stuff.
Yeah. But it's like, but even about somebody dying, somebody's dead. But even if somebody does die, to sit there and be like, oh, well, they totally deserve it. But then you're worried about offending with interpreting somebody's name. Yeah. It's just, and I'm not saying, when people die, it should just be like, it's unfortunate that somebody lost their husband and children lost their father.
We do look at some deaths and we do say you had it coming. There are some people that fit that category. Now, me personally, I don't feel Charlie Kirk did have it coming, but there are people who we do look at them and we say you had it coming.
Well, you say
but why do we say that? I don't say that.
I was gonna say I got to remove myself from that.
Yes, me too.
I'm against the death penalty. I don't think anyone deserves.
Right, you don't think he had it coming.
I don't think anyone deserves to be killed.
Well, the thing is, I don't. The thing that I don't.
Sometimes people we think.
Here's the thing. I think there are 100%. Sometimes people deserve to die.
Right.
But here's the thing.
I don't think Charlie Kirk did.
But it's like I still don't understand celebrating it. Like even because I remember when Osama bin Laden died. It's like people were at the bars, but I was just kind of like, cool, the asshole's gone.
Well,
okay, I'm going back to my day. No. People, but it's like, and I'm saying that was an extreme one. But just anybody, what's the point of going out of your way to celebrate it, even if you're happy that someone died or relief? Shouldn't you be just kind of relieved?
I think a part of it is
to give grace, though, like there is a big difference between celebrating something and then rationalizing it as a like, hey, isn't this the case?
Yes, and I think that's the difference between rationalizing like, oh, okay, it's not that big of a deal, it's not that big of a loss, and celebrating like, yes, that's what I don't get. Even if you hate somebody, celebrating someone's death
is wrong.
I think getting to Jimmy's question though, because I think it's a good place to start because I personally believe that is at least for me a big part of this is like the relationship between the freedom of speech aspect of it. So what is freedom of speech I think it's a good place to kind of kick it off. So I have my thoughts, but I'll wait. Greg, Steve, you guys want to jump in?
Okay, so as it obviously in the Constitution, the freedom of speech is just related to the behavior of the government. The government cannot restrict it. And so that's a good one. But then now, if a private citizen is speaking out against the government's not going to step in. But other people might
Get close to the mic, bro.
other people might step in and
totally forgot about
you know, discourage him.
Closer.
But then their
Closer. Bring the mic to your face, dude.
their freedom of speech in discouraging. So if you say something and then I say you shouldn't say that, we're both protected.
Yeah.
We should, but we're not really, because we're not the government. So no,
Yeah.
there's no protection for us.
So
But-
I guess.
But what I'm saying is, there's the level of constitutionally the government can't intervene, but then there's another aspect of free speech. Just is that it's vital in organizations to keep, you know, say like a democratic organization like a union. All our members, we should be able to speak out about the union,
Yes.
and we shouldn't be reprimanded for that. And they do have.
What do you mean you shouldn't be reprimanded for it?
You shouldn't get in trouble. You shouldn't be. There
You
shouldn't be
should, well,
like,
the
All right,
union
so-
shouldn't be able to.
so-
tell you can't speak,
I'm
right?
not saying
Yeah.
that. So, but
You and
People
Jimmy,
have to be-
Jimmy and Greg, you guys need to kind of like be like
Closer to the
leaning into the mic.
So-
yeah,
I would feel like though
I'm saying
you have to be
there-
accountable for your work.
You're accountable for. You can't, like, if you tell a lie, that's wrong. If you do this, but it's just in organizations, and then as a society as a whole, we have to be able to. There shouldn't be things you can't talk about. But yes, you are accountable for it.
If the things you're saying incite violence upon other people, is that okay?
No, that would be. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
like fundamentally is, what do you think freedom of speech is?
Yeah, I
and I'll
guess
tell
so.
you right now, like for me, it's an absolute, regardless of like the government's intervention. The moral grounding is that we should all be able to express ourselves, because sometimes our opinions are not popular or are not mainstream, and sometimes what somebody might hear as a threat to them or something offensive, like Steve mentioned, isn't where it's coming from. So you have to allow all. Once you start, like, who becomes the arbiter of what is offensive? Who becomes the arbiter of what is inciting violence? Obviously, if it's like, hey, I want somebody to go shoot, this person, that's very direct. But that wasn't the case with the political stances or the biblical messages or any of that. You can read into that, but it wasn't an insight to violence.
So now we're saying, yeah, that Charlie Kirk specifically was not inciting violence, or we don't think he was hateful. But you have a different opinion.
I depending on who you are, I think you would see that differently. I have gay and trans family that would see very differently
that he was inciting violence against them,
yes,
and that
that
and
when
that he was hateful to
there
them.
were things that he would say that people would persecute them for because of the things.
What was the?
He didn't.
I know. You can't tell who I'm looking at, dude. I'm just.
The trans ones, I'll be honest, I don't recall.
Well,
I've had conversations with him
you
before.
literally just said like the things that you heard him say. I'm just curious.
So the things that I do remember pertained more towards me. So when he had came out and said that 80% of black people are growing up without a father, I know that that's a lie. But I know that he also is saying that to portray an image of my community. When he said that black people are 13% of the population, yet 50% of the people in prison, I know that that's a lie, that that's not true. And he's saying that
factually,
to portray a certain image of me and my community.
So factually, you felt like he was inaccurate.
Okay.
You had 6 HBCUs that had to shut down the day after Charlie Kirk was killed.
6 what?
What is
HBCUs, historically black colleges, universities.
So I didn't know the abbreviation.
Why?
Because they
they
were
thought
getting so many threats towards their
reprisal?
schools because Charlie was murdered the day after. So
Of black schools?
exactly.
So-
because
where's the
the
threat coming from?
things that he has said has promoted a lot of anti-blackness out there. So as soon as he was killed, there are a lot of people that support him that automatically felt this was the person. These are the people that did it. So they went after them. because he said these things. There are groups of people that before anyone knew who shot him.
This is evidence
these are
that
who
he was
they are
hate
going to attack.
So now
But-
black
already.
schools
He's
are
using
at
this as
risk.
evidence of his hate speech.
Did you see the sign that said "Kill all Charlie Kirks" in Seattle? I think it was Seattle.
What do you
The
mean?
sign that was painted on the college campus: "Kill all Charlie Kirks."
No.
You see that? See, this is and I think it speaks like the deeper issue, and I think it's something to talk about. Is so like the clips that Steve has seen about Charlie Kirk might be different than the clips that you've seen, clips that Greg's seen.
And that's what I was going to say, Brad. That's the
also
point I
like
was
the
going to get
social
to.
media stuff. Like I might have seen the clip of the "Kill all Charlie Kirks," and then I also saw the historically black colleges also got threats too. I think that is part of the division where we're not all seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all making a review of a movie, but we've all just seen parts of it.
Yeah. So
And that's what I was getting. That's what I was getting to is
we
before when I saw Charlie
got a
Kirk
bubble.
years ago, and I remember I didn't like because he was a young kid. Like he was a young college kid. I'm like, just he's annoying, and I kept wanting to like find things wrong with him. And some of it just really irritated me because I literally only paid attention to little clips. And then I really actually kind of went down a rabbit hole. I tried to find the videos to really make him look like an asshole, and I couldn't. And it really irritated me because it's like when you listen to his stuff long enough, it's like, oh, he's actually you're right with the stuff he says. And when you take the clips, he has a tone that is weird because when he asks questions sometimes, he used to ask them in a kind of a weird way to bring you and see if you can figure it out. And some of the stuff, I don't know the statistics because I'm not a statistician. Like I don't know what is true or what is not. I do know when I worked as a mental health worker and dealt with like the FIST type of stuff, it was like felony incompetent stand trial. So basically the homeless community in LA, that a lot of them were black and Mexican and that type of stuff. Not gonna lie, there was a lot more people of color in that system than any white people. So
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
If you look at historically those communities, you could see why those things happen.
Well, you can see why they
You're
happen.
saying that it's not like that. He's
But
just saying
you-
it is.
I'm
like
saying-
that.
I'm
You're
saying
just
from what-
you said it's wrong.
From what I'm seeing,
I said what's wrong.
You said that his statistics were wrong.
You said the
He's
statistics
saying,
were.
well, maybe
I'm
the
saying.
statistics are
I'm
right.
saying from what I saw, it looked like there's a lot more black and brown people than there are in prison.
There are. It's not 50%. He conflated.
But and
that.
I'm just saying I don't
and then
know.
also,
conflated
and then also, I think he is probably aware that in this nation, black people are about 40% of the exonerated people that were accused of crimes that they didn't commit.
Oh,
He will always fail to bring those things up when he gets into those.
He's dead. He's never going to bring him up.
He always had there was two times I was thinking about like going to a college to debate this dude, and it was specifically to point out, hey, you're drawing a lot of inaccuracies.
The awesome thing is,
but I feel like it's specifically to paint
but
me.
the
Yeah, you
awesome
could've.
but the
You
awesome
could've
thing,
went and
awesome
debated
thing
him.
is, you could have gone and debated him,
Absolutely.
but now he's dead, so we can't.
Cool.
Which is horrible.
Yeah,
Which
and
we
that's
should not
and that's where
live
and that's where I'm
in
kind
a
of torn
world
because it's like
that's
there's
like
a guy,
that.
even though I don't agree with him, he was willing to stand there and let people talk to him.
Absolutely.
And that's I wish there was more people on both sides that did that. A lot of people don't want to have conversations. How do we see people through a different lens? Is what I'm saying. I guess you know what I mean.
How do we not be so afraid of each other?
Yeah,
Because like, who is calling these black campuses?
and threatening bomb
And
threats
why
or
are they afraid?
gun threats
They're
or who's
afraid
threatening
because
them?
they're getting internet trolls or are talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm
smack?
curious. Like,
I
don't
wonder
know
what the threats
I don't know
even were.
Why, but I know
They shut them
I
down because they were
know-
afraid.
when it came to the homelessness, I know people are ignored a lot. I live in downtown Long Beach, and I talk to everyone because I am who
they're
I am.
overlooked a lot, man.
And I
They
know
are.
I had a buddy, George, that would say, like, you're the only person that has said my name in years.
That's crazy.
And I wonder, how do you expect this person to get out of the situation they're in if no one will even acknowledge them? So
and think about it this way
really
too, though those people. But now
difficult.
think of that same type of relationship, and not such someone that's like homeless or mentally ill, but someone that's young and impressionable that doesn't have a fully developed brain, that maybe doesn't have parents that talk to them. So they go with whoever talks
or if
to
you
them.
have parents
and
that have their own scars
Yep.
and put
It-
those scars into their children. I think at the core, we are all so much alike. I think every human is very, very, very much alike. But we've gotten to a place to where, like I said, we drive a lot in the cars and stuff. We are very disconnected, and we've taken, I feel like, the humanity of each other away. We see people that are different, and we think of them as less human than us. There's people that see homeless people. I heard someone on Fox the other day because that woman got stabbed on the subway. And there was 2 people on Fox News that were saying, we need to just, if you're homeless, we need to lock them up. And if they don't want to be locked up, unfortunately, involuntary lethal injections is what we might need to do. Like, that's what they were talking about. And that's
involuntary lethal injection.
On Fox News, they want to kill the homeless.
I'll feel like breaking news.
Fox News wants to kill the homeless.
No, you can find that clip because it blew my mind as well.
So what are your thoughts on? So like, I think that's one of those things. That's
I think we shouldn't do that to the homeless.
Yeah, let me be very
I think
clear.
we need to
it.
come to a point where we realize, with all of our differences, we are all crewmates on one ship. We all live on the same planet together. We are all one and the same. We may have different cultures, different ideologies, but we are all human beings.
Yeah, don't kill me.
But I mean, we're more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
And
so don't kill me.
We it seems like have gotten to a point where we feel like the person most opposite of us is, I have nothing in common with that.
So I have a question for that then. When it comes to society, do you think as a whole then we are run more by hate or fear?
Fear.
Explain that. How so?
I think fear.
We're just afraid of each other, so we keep killing each other?
I think fear leads to hate. I am like Master Yoda. This kid's got fear, and fear leads to suffering. Suffering leads to hate. When you have fear and you can't deal with it, like my grandpa taught me, the alleviation, the cure to fear is knowledge. But when you're not willing to learn about what you fear, you hold on to that, it turns into suffering and it turns into hate.
So do you see the correlation between what you just said to how people turn to fear of what people think or what they're saying, and that turns to hatred, which turns to violence?
Yeah.
So why the thing of like being fearful of what people say or what somebody else thinks or what their beliefs or opinions are on something, turning to hate, that's the thing. That's where we come back to like the morality of like, do we value the fact that people are going to say things that we don't agree with, and that person isn't subhuman for it? They're actually more human.
Yeah. Because
I can disagree with them.
Yeah, we need to get to that place. It seems like.
Well, I think also if we can look at it through a different lens, because like the hate and everything, if we can look at suffering, choose how we're going to endure it, that can build a completely different type of character. Because if you're suffering and everyone around you is telling you like, you don't deserve this, the world's against you, everyone hates you, you need to hate them back, you're going to outwork this, it's like, oh, then you're building a different type of character of resentment and victimhood, as opposed to if you're enduring like suffering, it's like, hey, I believe in you. You're going to get through this. This sucks right now. You know what? You're stronger than you think you are. You're smarter than you think you are. You're going to continue to grow. Take it one step at a time. Let's put a protocol together. Let's be disciplined with your life, and things will get better. This is going to suck, but it's going to come out better on the other end.
I think
it's a different type of perspective.
It is a different type of perspective.
But wouldn't you be less fearful with that perspective going forward than somebody telling you why everything's wrong?
Well,
because the world sucks, man.
It does.
But how we endure our suffering builds our character.
It does. But there's times where the world makes us feel like we're not worthy. And we're shown that regularly, depending on who you are. Like our societies can be very
depending on who you are.
Can I ask you a question?
It can be very inclusive.
Depending on who you are.
But
it doesn't depend on who you are.
For you personally though, for you personally, like the world can be so. the world can be this, and as a man that's in your life, that's a friend of yours, that's sitting across from you right now, how can I, as a man, take what the world makes you feel and pour words and love into you to counteract what you hear of the world to make you feel like you are.
That's not how it works.
Well, you've done that most of our relationship. This the relationship I've had with you. You've usually made me feel comfortable with being authentic. Yeah. Just the way you've always interacted with me.
Thank you.
But I can say that have been other friends of ours to where when I was in more insecure places of my life and we were all at parties and stuff, would do things that would make me feel really uncomfortable.
So
I said I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm not going to talk about it.
I would feel like it is hard for me to be authentic in these places sometimes.
Can I ask you something then?
Yeah.
If you had a group of, say, like 10 guys around you that always built you up, spoke truth and that type of thing, and you were just so bombarded with that, would you even hear the rest of the world ever putting you down?
Probably just because I feel it. Like you feel it when you're out there.
But would it have to run you?
It's hard for me to say because
would you think maybe everyone else is lying if you had a group of people that were telling you all that type of stuff too?
It's hard for me to say because of I know the experiences I've had, and I came from a family that filled me with love and acceptance, and even through that I really felt insecure a lot of times throughout my life.
Is there anything that we could do, like as a brother, is there a possibility where you could see that going forward without having the past from this moment forward? Like if people could you start to believe that, or do you still think the world is still little? I mean, the world's still.
The world is just I have my own issues.
You're cautious. You're cautious, right?
Oh no, I have my issues that I have with fears of abandonment.
Got it.
That impact the way I see
the lens
see the world.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say if they were all giving me that.
It's hard to believe it anyway.
Well, no, because actually, no, my family raised me to believe, and I do at times now. I don't think that I'm below anyone in this world, but I don't think that I'm better than any living thing in this world as well. So I believe that, but I do know that my insecurities, a lot of my life, made me feel like I couldn't live authentically in my own skin. And that's with someone that comes from a pretty open-minded kind of neighborhood, like a pretty chill place. Like I can't imagine if I were a black, like gay kid growing up in the projects, how that would feel, because there's no acceptance for me to live my authentic place, my authentic ways there.
But you're not that person.
I'm not, but I know I feel for
and you have so much
different
empathy
people.
for all
So
the
it's like,
possibilities, kind of thing, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm wanting us to get to a place in society to where everybody's able to live their truth and their way of being, to where Charlie could say what he wants and not get shot down, but the people that he talks about can feel like they can live their true lives and not have to feel the fear of, is someone going to try to harm me for just being me? I know one of our friends, when we were like senior year in high school, we were trying to figure out what to do on a Saturday, and one of them just was like, oh, well, why don't we go egg it's over on 2nd Street? And that was just like, oh, that's just something to do, not thinking like, no, that's a horrible way to try to treat people. And then to think that there are people that have to live their life like, hey, is someone going to try to egg me just for being me walking down the street? Like, we shouldn't.
So
we shouldn't be there.
So I think we can all agree that historically things were a lot worse for marginalized communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And today they're better than they were.
They're better now.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that most good people are, this is a trajectory where eventually we get to a place where Steve talked about, where we all can just in brotherhood, sisterhood, just human, get to that place. I think what happens, and part of it's like media, part of it's just the divisive, polarized culture we live in, is that some, especially younger people, are raised to believe it's terrible today and it's never been worse. And it's just like, dude, like there's that little naivete where it's like that there's still work to be done.
Yeah.
But it's like we're on the right track. I mean,
No,
but like
so
there are things that are unacceptable today.
Yes.
And words that we use are unacceptable. If somebody said the F word, it'd be like, bro, like even if one of you guys said it, like, you know, I know you wouldn't.
I
but
did an example of what we were saying.
Right.
I did.
No, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
I'm not gonna lie, it hurt.
If you wanted to go toilet papering right now, you know what I mean. I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? You're better than that.
Egging,
but like, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you know, it'd be like, oh, that's
when we were in high school and middle school, that was thrown around all the time.
right.
That word was everyone when we were.
We used to say that word in middle school.
Even the R word. Like even the R word, and then N word. You know, we're not even going to go there. But you see, and here's the thing. I was talking to Greg about this today, and this isn't a popular opinion, but it's. I'm curious what you guys think about it. The one of the issues, and I'm going to acknowledge the fact that there's a power dynamic in American society, American culture, and some things should not be compared to. Some things should not. You shouldn't try to relate. A experience of a white person to other groups because the comparison doesn't match given the power dynamic and the historical context. I'm going to acknowledge that. I think one of the issues that came across with the Charlie Kirk incident and a lot of things is there's no line somebody can cross when it comes to being hateful towards a white person. There's no word that you can say that says, hey man, you're kind of going into that territory where I don't think you're just expressing opinion, that you're creating a subhuman othering of somebody. And therefore you're marked. You can be hurt because you are subhuman. It goes back to that old thing that people used to ask, like, hey, if you had a time machine and you can go back in time before the genocide of the Jews and you could kill Hitler before he did it, would you do it? And typically the patriotic answer is, yeah, I would do that, right? When you call somebody Hitler, when you call somebody a Nazi, we need to realize the power of words.
I think what people do, and I think social media causes a big, not a problem, but it maybe amplifies a lot of it. But when we see certain things, I know after that shooting and I saw all them dudes in Huntington Beach out there screaming, white man fight back, that made me nervous. Because
I've
was
speech that was inciting violence. What those men were saying. Right?
I mean, I guess you could say that. I don't think anyone out that night went out beating up people or anything like that. So I don't think
that made you afraid.
Well, no, it makes me nervous because I know my grandparents were somewhat chased out of Mississippi to Chicago by people that were looking similar to what I'm seeing today.
It is still othering everybody. We're still compartmentalizing whites, blacks, Asians, all that type of stuff. And that's the whole problem with it. It's like, for whatever, historically, white people have been more successful in this country. And it's like, even if they're not the majority, it's like they had so much success in an early game where it's like, oh, now it's time out for you. No more success for you. So it's like anything. I do kind of feel like just with
success? Just because they've accumulated
well,
more
no,
wealth
because like in the 50s, wasn't there some majority of white people that had like all the jobs? Wasn't there like a lot more white people at some point in time?
Well, yeah, they were.
Like before when when there was what I'm saying is when there was segregation, all the type of stuff, the white man was on top of the world, and they were.
During that time, there were a lot of black communities that did flourish and
okay, but weren't we just saying the whole thing that how black people didn't flourish because of slavery and civil rights?
So hold on.
We are saying, that's what you were saying.
There are, off the top of my head, I could think of maybe 4 or 5 different towns, and I know there are a slew of more, where there were black communities that built a lot of wealth. Those all were either burned down, taken away.
So the whole point. I mean, so the whole point.
Hey guys, you're talking over each other. Hey, listen, I'm gonna switch gears. I want you guys to. I'm gonna give you a prompt. what is more important, sympathy or empathy, and how does that play into the ability to relate to each other? I guess we could start with like, what is the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Yeah, what is the difference?
By definition?
Yeah, so let me just
Empathy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
let me just so I think what Jimmy was about to say is like, so empathy is basically, it's usually seen as like the more noble of like, if put myself in their shoes. This is how I would feel if I put myself in their shoes. I'm going to put myself in there. I'm going to show empathy, even though I haven't lived the experience. I'm going to put myself in your shoes. Sympathy is, I feel bad that you're feeling that way, but I'm not putting myself in your shoes. Just a hot take. I believe sympathy is way more important and way more valuable in public discourse than the illusion of empathy.
So one thing I think with that, I think he's right to some degree. I think the opposite though. I think empathy is more important. I think people are just less capable of it. Because I think you have a lot of empathy. And I think that takes you very far in life. I think that will continue to take you far in life.
It also hurts me though.
But here's the thing. It does hurt you. And that's how you know you're going somewhere with it, because you are capable, but you are capable. You are capable of taking all that pain, all the feelings, and because you have empathy, you're able to grow with it. Some people that have anger and frustration and resentment and want to be right all the time, so when they are incapable of feeling what other people are feeling or being able to have that perspective, they are incapable of growing past where they are at. I'm not saying we don't always go forward. Sometimes we go backwards and forwards. But if you don't have empathy, the type of character you're going to build is going to be one that does not always put you in a forward direction. Do you know what I mean? Because I think empathy is extremely important. I just think it's fucking hard. It's hard to have because you can't have empathy unless you have discipline.
And you can't have empathy unless you really understand it. And
But you have to choose it though. You have to choose it.
This is the thing is, I am an empathetic person. I feel everything. When I see someone struggling, it brings me real pain. And I was raised to be empathetic and to think about what other people are going through because I had a very, very privileged life. But my parents didn't, and my grandparents didn't, and a lot of my friends didn't. So my family always tried to make me very aware of where I was coming from and where other people were coming from. So I thought through most of my life, I really understood empathy. But it was exactly what Brad had just said of putting my brain into of what would I do if I were in your shoes. And I don't believe that really is empathy. Empathy to me, and this is the way I practice it now, is not saying what would I do if I were in Greg's shoes or what would I do if I were in Steve's shoes. It is what would I feel like if I never had any of the experiences I've ever had and I lived all of your experiences, not to act on it, but just to try to understand what it would be like to feel what you feel coming from everything you've come through all of your life. And that is where I think empathy is really important because it takes away that ego and says, what would I be like? Who would I be? What would it feel like if I wasn't Jimmy, born to Lorelei in Lakewood and grew up in Grandma and Grandpa's house on Klondike and had Ben and Matt and Brian as best friends? What would I feel like if I grew up where Brad did and I had all of his experiences?
So you're taking the overall all experiences together, encompassing that, and like, how do you feel? Not like what would I do?
Erasing your experience and just saying, what would it be like to have lived somebody else's experience? Not to change them, not to change you, just to understand you. And that I think can be very beneficial and important if we really can do it.
If we can do it, which is hard. That's hard to do.
But sympathy is just as important because you don't need to detach yourself from yourself You could just say, "Hey,
I think they're both important.
I feel bad for what you're
if you're
going
capable
through.
of, if you're whatever you're capable of doing. You should be able to have
think
both.
opposite of what Brad said. I think empathy really, if you're truly practicing it, I think it completely erases.
I
the
think it's
ego.
harder to acquire though, definitely for people.
Very.
Never. Thank
so,
you. Never.
all
would
right.
have
Hold on,
figured
no.
out.
Maddie wanted to.
Before she
Old
jumps in,
Testament.
before
I'm
she
cutting
jumps
in.
in, I'm
I agree with everything
Are you
Jimmy
gonna
said.
say
gonna-
a final thought or
gonna
something?
cut your. Yeah, we're gonna do it.
I won't do your
Okay.
laundry
All right, go
for a
it.
week.
Go for it then.
I agree with everything Jimmy said. But it's like
Liar.
it's like different.
Hello,
semantics,
I'm
like-
Amanda.
It's like different semantics. I think like you have your feelings, and I'm feeling your feelings with you, instead of projecting mine at you. I'm like giving
Yes.
you space to feel your feelings.
Yeah, but it's assuming that you know how the other person feels rather than just saying.
So-
rather than just see now.
Mandy, one thing that she brings up, and I will say this because like my wife does the same thing. I honestly do feel this is what I think women are just better at having empathy. I think they just feel better and know how to create space
Don't
better than men.
pander.
I don't.
I do.
No.
I really do. I
So-
think people are, and there's some people that are capable of being empathetic without saying a word and holding space for people to feel safe.
I think that's because of the society we've grown up in.
Wait.
I think that women and feeling that empathy and feeling more, I think that's just human feeling. But as little boys,
We could train
were
ourselves to do
taught
it, though.
not to feel.
correct.
We
We were.
scrape our knee. We're not supposed to cry.
Nope.
We're supposed to get up. But if a little girl does, no, you're supposed to. I feel your pain. You're supposed to feel that. So I think
You
part
could
of it is we've been trained,
And we can untrain
to
ourselves
not
to do that.
Feel that. On empathy specifically, I realized I was somewhat wrong in it. It has nothing to do with me at all. It is completely detaching myself from myself
Yeah.
and trying to feel like, what would I be feeling at almost 40 years old if I had lived all of your lived experiences and lived none of mine?
And Jimmy, you're an amazing human being with a huge heart, and I think that there's a lot of value in empathy. Like that's definitely not what I'm saying. Like the empathy is a higher goal for human people,
harder.
but it's thrown around so easily. Where if people even just got to sympathy, just the fact that like another human feels something, that you can care about that, rather than the deep work that you're talking about, which is again a testament to the size of your heart and how much you care. Like, yeah, as a society, we use those words empathy too loosely. Where if we just even had sympathy, it would be a great thing. Just not needing to understand why you think the way you think or what brought you to that conclusion, but the fact that you're expressing a feeling. I care about you as a human and that feeling, as opposed to I have to pretend that what I would feel is I would just rationalize the shit out of it.
Well, but here's the thing. When I see a major difference between me, you, Brad, like you were and you always have been one of the most empathetic people I've ever met. You grew up with a family that loves you. You were so surrounded by love and stuff like that. I was surrounded by survival tactics, and I think a lot of us were surrounded by survival tactics where we had to compete for attention. We had to do certain things, whether it was like at home, at school, with friends. It was, for me, always competition to get attention, to be liked. So I never had to practice empathy at all because I was always focused on me. It sounds like you were always being overflowed with love.
I was,
So you were overflowed with other people's emotions and feelings. Anyway, it seems like because you were so you would naturally be expressing and feeling other people's feelings because they openly shared and expressed them with you.
that, and
Which
it's
is
a part
kinda
of
cool, man.
It's part of just my genetics. My
Yeah.
mom and I and my grandmother are all similar in this. We really, really feel for people, deep down.
But what I'm
we
saying,
feel.
like, think of this like a child that goes into Taekwondo. I mean, our daughter's in that at 4 years old. The hip dexterity that she will gain if she does this till she's 20 is going to be amazing. And
Yeah.
you could not teach somebody that.
Yeah.
It can only be learned.
I like where you're going.
You learned this from an early age because you were exposed to
the
a bunch
heart-
of
the heart
empathetic people.
Taekwondo.
The people that did that. Your heart has been worked.
Yeah.
It's been flexible. It's been
yeah.
and you learned it from an age that you couldn't get it out of you.
I learned it.
Heart Kwando.
I learned it, and it was just in me because I know I've gotten to a point where I wish I could stop it. Because that time I helped that blind lady with her stuff, I called my aunt, who's a psychologist, to talk to her about it because I was feeling so much, and I was bawling because I felt so much pain for not just her, but for the people that were, in a sense, attacking her.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were malicious
yeah,
and horrible to
yeah.
her, but I knew that came from their pain, their trauma, that they're so scarred and can't handle it. It comes out and lashes out in these ugly, vile ways. And that really hurt my heart. And I at times wish so bad that I could turn that off because it gets very, very tiring. It's exhausting.
I hope that
it gets
turned off
more
again.
exhausting the more it seems like we as people have a level of contempt for one another.
You know what though? The story you shared earlier about the blind lady, like helping her with the groceries and the water on the floor and everything. I know. Think about it this way though: as much as that hurt you, you came into her life and helped her.
And that's what my family
Imagine
is. Yeah.
how good and safe she felt
Yeah.
to know that there's someone out in the world like you.
And that's
You
what my mom
probably
said.
made her feel safe for a period of time
And
and gave her hope, hoping that somebody like you would come again, hoping she would run into you, or hoping maybe she could have a presence with somebody. You might have completely impacted and changed her life in that way. And you know what? I hope you never change, because the rawness and the fact that you created a safe space for a woman to be grateful, show gratitude, and feel safe for that moment where she has to put water in front of her door so she can feel safe and things won't get broken into. If you didn't have everything about you that you have, you wouldn't have brought that moment of safety and security to that woman. So I hope you never change, because you are capable of doing that. You're capable of carrying that weight.
I want to be able to change because I want us to be able to get to a point where we don't do this to each other.
And keep doing what you're doing. And I think those things will slowly, the conversations we're having.
But the thing
You know?
is, too, is going back to kind of not wanting people exposed to, or kids exposed to certain things. I understand parents not wanting their kids to see or be exposed to things, but I feel like for the most part where that comes from is they don't want their kids exposed to things that they don't know. Mm-hmm. That if you got to know people that were different from you, they wouldn't be scary to where you're like, no, I don't want my kids to know that those people are there, or to where we realize we expose kids to so much already as it is, but we've always seen it as normal and acceptable. But when you don't know who each other, if we don't know who each other are in our society, it makes it easier for us to dehumanize each other. I know my dad grew up outside of Chicago, and there are these little farm towns outside of Chicago to where there is so much disconnect between Maywood and St. Charles, or Maywood and Oak Park. There's just a disconnect because you have the Italians that live over here, you have the Spanish that live over here, you got the blacks that live over here, and they're not, because of the way it has been historically there, they don't mix it up. So they don't know each other. They don't feel each other. So they don't see each other's pain and frustrations. So it's easier for us to say, they're not what I am. And that's why I say we are all crewmates on one ship. I personally feel like we really need to get to a place where, I know it's not a popular take with a lot of people, but I think we need to get to a place to where we as a species put humanity way above any religion or any political ideology or any cultural upbringing. when we could have humanity over all of that, no matter what your culture is or your political views are or your sexual preferences are or your how you want to express yourself authentically, if I could accept you as a human being, all the rest kind of is just there.
To tie it kind of back in, I think that no matter what somebody is saying or the way to collaborate, the way to connect with people is through our words and not any other means. And I think that's one of those things that, even with what happened to Charlie Kirk, it wasn't just the implication of that one incident. It's anybody who's speaking, their opinion and trying to bring people together.
Yeah.
And I made a
and
comment.
even if you're not trying to bring people together, just of people being murdered for just being
just
them.
in general.
Like that's not.
And I made a comment to Greg at the gym today, and he kind of pointed it out. But like the one of the things that I saw in the whole thing was, he wasn't like a Rush Limbaugh. He wasn't a Glenn Beck. He wasn't somebody who was hiding behind a screen and doing videos about. He was going to college campuses, and there was a microphone in between him and people, students that had different opinions. And the shot that killed Charlie Kirk didn't just kill Charlie Kirk. It killed the opportunity for people to walk up to that microphone.
Yeah, I was looking forward to an opportunity to one day probably have a discussion with him.
Yeah.
Just because I knew I thought drastically differently than he did. And I knew I grew up in a Christian house, and I know that I had seen him say a lot of things to where I was going to say, hey, if Jesus was here, I don't think he would be down with what you're saying right now. I also don't think that a lot of people reacted genuinely. I think a lot of people reacted just like a knee-jerk kind of reaction. I know my family is a very liberal family. We have quite a few gay people in my family. Got a lot of trans people in my family. I'm black and Mexican, and we got white people in my family. Like we're very mixed bag. But we also have some older women in my family with a lot of pain.
Sure.
And especially growing up in very white areas during the 60s and 70s, they have a lot of pain. And I know some of the text messages that I read, I know I talked to him a little later and was like, I don't believe you really feel what you said there. I think you're reacting to all the spectacle of everything that's happening today, right now, in these past few hours. And because of all the pain you have, you're shooting these text messages out. But I believe if you really search your heart, what you wrote here, you don't genuinely feel that in your heart. And a lot of them were like, yeah, I guess if you put it like that.
And Jimmy, that same grace that you're giving, or that same understanding or openness to how people are reacting, is the exact same grace that I give people that came out that were ugly.
Yeah.
Or maybe hostile or harsh. I don't think that you're a bad person. I think that this reaction comes from a place of maybe, somebody was saying, well, what about the genocide in Palestine? Like, what about, the different causes, that the senator who was murdered? I don't think that those comments, even though they come off as hostile or ugly, it's because they feel a certain way about those, and they don't think that it got the same reaction that it should have. Like it's a place of care, compassion, love for those things that they feel like weren't as highlighted.
And
right?
I get that.
Even ugly comments can be coming from a place of love and goodness. And so I give the same grace you give, where it's not every comment is, is coming from somebody's heart. Going into final thoughts, we'll start with Greg.
Nah, I didn't say a lot, and I think we I just think we disagree on some things about what's hate speech and what should make people afraid, or how if it's right for people to be afraid or whatever. But I guess you can't tell them. The thing is, you can't tell people if they're afraid, they're afraid. But the whole thing is, whose fault is that they are afraid? In pertaining to being afraid of the ideas that Charlie Kirk was espousing, but I think that you shouldn't murder people. I don't know. I don't really have a final thought. Don't use this. Don't use this thing.
That was a final thought. Funny thing about a final thought, it's more about like when it happens, not what you said. And Greg has a new nickname. He's Toyota. Greg Toyota.
Toyota? Where does that come from?
Japan.
Oh no,
Because it's a spinoff of Adam Carolla.
Yeah. Oh. He's my Adam. He's my Adam Carolla. So I just call
I've
him.
met him a few times. He's a weird dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't call him. Don't call him weird. Don't call him weird.
You know I gotta say that.
He is.
Don't call him weird.
I went out with.
No, don't call him weird.
Hot Wings a few times with Tom Likas.
Yeah, no.
Adam was there. And
That was the whole point, Jimmy. You're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud. All right.
You had hot wings with Tom Likas?
twice, yeah.
Wow.
It was when I was drinking more.
Why'd you bury the lead?
I know,
He
right?
thought it was funny. Some of the
All right.
horrific.
Kicking it over to Steve. You got 1 minute.
Okay. Honestly, like, I've been in survival mode for the first 4 decades of my life. 41, just getting my stuff together. And it's like, I think the world, don't understand a lot of what goes on. I think there's rules that are made that I don't fully understand because I didn't pay attention most of my life. And now what I'm understanding is like a lot of the rules and laws in life seem very complicated and seem like they have a lot of loopholes. I think as people, if we could figure out a way just to have more decency with each other, just have more curiosity of like where other people are at and where they're coming from and their perspective. If we could find a way to just have communities that listen, ask questions, and just treat each other with decency, even when they disagree. I don't know how to do that, but I think that's what we need is decency. We don't need more rules, more laws, because every time we make one of those, we find how far can we stretch it before we break it and then rewrite it. So let's practice being decent rather than just expanding the goal line even further so we can be more like inhumane to each other, which seems to be what we're doing. I just hope in time we can just have more conversations and decency with each other, you know? That's it.
That's fair. All right, kicking it over to you, Jimmy.
This is gonna ultimately what I've been saying the whole time is we need to get to a place to where we put humanity over all of our differences, whether it be religion, political or cultural ideologies. But then also we have to get to a place to where we can accept people that are different. But it is hard to accept people that are different when we feel that difference is rooted in an idea that one of us is less human than one of the others. And we've done that a lot historically. So it I don't know, it's very, very, it seems like it would be very difficult. And it seems like with today's age, with social media, it has given us the opportunity to be more vile to each other and more disconnected to each other, which I find very, very scary at times. But I do still believe in from some of the geologists that I've talked to, it still seems like there's more than enough natural resources on this earth for all of us humans to live and be okay comfortably. And I hope that someday we can get to a point where no matter what the difference is, we see each other as people. And I know we didn't touch on it at all, but I do think some of those new breakthroughs in nuclear energy that came through like about a year and a half ago, could possibly really drastically change the dynamics of modern societies to where greed won't be as big of a thing. And actually that right there, I think greed is a huge contributing factor to the disconnect that we have with each other. We're all crewmates on one ship, like I've been saying. Love and peace, understanding.
All right, boys, I love you. We'll leave it there. Steve, I'll give you the sign off.
Thank you for watching Brick by Brick, and come join us next time.